Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
What's something that loudly says, uneducated? Expressing a personal opinion as something objective. Or their feelings as fact. It's becoming worse. I've often seen them cite facts to suit their personal agenda, then say, facts don't care about your feelings. But when it's debunked, double down on what they believe to be real. I think there needs to be an addendum to that adage. My feelings don't care about your facts. Pretending to be knowledgeable about everything. Reasonable people will be able to just say, you lost me, or, I don't know. My friends introduced me to one of their longtime friends from college who they kept hyping up as the most interesting man in the world, and knows tons of cool facts. Dude came off as the most insufferable asshole and had to steer every conversation in the friend group towards some fun fact he knows. I realized he pretty much just reads Malcolm Gladwell and Jared Diamond books along with some Reddit history posts and then tries to regurgitate them into conversations to look smart. I have no doubt he's pretty intelligent, but constantly quoting pop science books just makes you look like a douche. Ask him if he likes apples. Being stubborn enough to not change your opinion about something when being shown evidence to the contrary, being closed-minded in general. Our common responses, let's agree to disagree, or, oh yeah. What about, or holding some sort of a grudge to the, I'll show you, type of hope fulfillment. 100% disagree with your take on, let's agree to disagree. Sometimes I just don't want to argue with you about something that ultimately isn't that big of a deal, especially if I don't even care enough to change your mind. The worst people to be around are the ones that think they have to argue with you about everything, even when it's opinionated things. Confidently speaking on a subject you know 1% of. I've been in aviation for over 15 years, and I cringe and get annoyed when family or those outside of the industry just state strong opinions without knowing the whole picture or even a sliver. I'm in agriculture, and it's obvious who's uneducated when they talk about farming like it's just riding tractors and tossing hay. I can spot a non-farmer instantly by the way they talk about certain things but have no idea what they're actually saying. They have no clue how complex and demanding it actually is. I have an honesty box by the side of the road where I put some plants, produce I grow and eggs, and I was having problems with theft, which I complained about to a group of friends and friends of friends. One of the friends of friends said, well, if you're having such a lot of thefts, why don't you sit out there all day? Nobody's going to steal stuff while you're there, and it's not like you're doing anything else. And then there was the mother of a friend who said, oh how lovely, and do you do anything else, like as a job? It's like some people literally think farmers just stand around all day leaning on gates chewing a strand of hay. Lol, I got Farming Simulator when it was on Game Pass because I thought it would be a cozy tea game. In 15 minutes I completely understood why there is a billboard in town for a farmer suicide hotline. Lack of cognitive flexibility, ability to consider different perspectives. If you've never used the phrase, I think I was wrong about, then you are probably uneducated. The more you learn, the better you understand just how much you don't know. I've heard it phrased as, the more you know, the more you realize how little you know. Lack of curiosity. This should be higher up. People in general would be a lot more educated if they just looked things up when they came across words, concepts they didn't understand. If I'm reading or watching something and think, what is that? I pull out my phone and give it a quick search. It doesn't make me an expert on it, but it does widen my knowledge base just a teensy bit and make me a more well-rounded person. Over time, all those teensy bits add up. It does widen my knowledge base just a teensy bit and make me a more well-rounded person. Over time, all those teensy bits add up. Agreed. Once I ditched social media and switched to Reddit, I started acquiring knowledge in such a fun way. It completely changed my life because I can now have a light-hearted conversation about damn near anything. I never learned anything on social media. This isn't normal. I also look up words and concepts I don't understand, constantly. I thought this was something that most adults with an internet connection do, but maybe I'm giving the general public too much credit. Littering. Recreational fishermen here. I'm part of a group that voluntarily does cleanup at various launches and popular fishing locations in our Canadian forests. Nothing worse than fishing on a pristine lake and seeing the sunken beer cans from the, hey you'll watch this crowd. Throng second on this one. The only thing I leave in the lakes I fish are the fish because I suck at fishing. Bragging about not reading books. Someone once told me, I don't read, if it's a good book then they'll make it into a movie. Distinctly unattractive. If you go home with somebody and they don't have books, don't fuck. John Waters. My cousin's indoor boyfriend proudly said to me last week, I don't read because my brain processes it all too fast and gets bored. I skim books every now and then though. Edit, he's an idiot boyfriend, not an indoor boyfriend. Lol. Screaming incoherently when you are losing an argument. And not being able to admit when you're wrong. There are plenty stubborn educated people playing videos or music in public without headphones. Uneducated or entitled. Those two usually overlap. That time an in-law said they have seafood in Spain. Quote, why wouldn't they? Oof, indeed, one would think that a country known for its location on a peninsula would have a lot of seashore and therefore seafood. Maybe, one would think, is where I'm going wrong. Putting an apostrophe in every plural. That bothers me too. Well played. Driving around in a truck with a bunch of flags flapping. You already angered the flag bros lol. Driving around in truck when they don't need one. You're an accountant Steve, and your wife sells hats. Why do you need 2 Land Rovers? Question mark. So I live in Ford country, and the amount of people here with completely spotless, customized F-250 or bigger trucks is insufferable. Why spend that much on something you'll never use for the intended purpose? Seems like such a waste. I was driving to work one time and coming the other direction was a big full-size pickup truck with a flagpole in the back sticking up over the cab of the truck. I'm already rolling my eyes, and then I saw the flag. It was the Full Progress Pride flag. I almost had to pull over to recover from the shock. I saw a trans plumber driving a work pickup with a rainbow Gadsden flag flying high. Respect. Man, I don't give a shit what the flag is, flying flags off your vehicle is gaudy and distracting as hell. I'm just waiting for the day when a flag snaps off and covers someone's windshield going 50. MAGA. Trump loves the poorly educated. Edit, 411 upvotes, WTF. I should make more 0400 Reddit posts at work, tears of joy. That means over half America is poorly educated, loudly crying, loudly crying. Edit PPL keeps saying it's only 30%. I get that now. I'm from a country where everyone over 18 must vote. Americans don't, but still, 30%. Uttering my truth. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers. Flat Earthers. Flat Earthers followed closely by those who believe we never went to the moon and Apollo flights were all shot on a film set. It depends on what you mean about educated. There are people with degrees who still lack critical thinking. Not being able to hold two opposing opinions in one's head is, for me, the hallmark of a limited intellect. Yes, what is with that? Black and white thinking seems so common. Like you guys know, no one is infallible. Most things are just based off of perspective anyways. One man's freedom fighter is another's terrorist kind of thing. Tattoos with incorrect spelling, preferably on the face. No regrets. No rugrats. Met a bloke years and years ago who was boasting about his new Harley Davidson tattoo his mate had done for him. I feigned interest and he rolled up his sleeve to show me. It was all I could do not to burst out laughing because it was tattooed. Haley, with the logo tattooed, Davidson. What a fucking loser. Getting homophones wrong, there and there, two and two, effect or effect, etc. Mixing up allowed and allowed really bothers me. We could have gone there, instead of, we could have, gone there. I don't know when this started happening with the words could, would, and should, but it makes my skin crawl. Not even homophones, but damn, it hurts my soul when people use lose for lose. I cannot get my brain to understand effect versus effect unless I stop to think for a moment. I struggle here also. I just use impact if I'm not sure how. But you know, to stop and think. That's the difference. Having a strong opinion without any facts to back it up. Or not welcoming or considering opposing points of view. Academia is about constructive conflict and challenging assumptions. Shouting and trying to achieve things by being aggressive and rude. That's not uneducated, that's just an asshole. Loud equals funny. Or worse, loud equals correct. People who still insist vaccines cause autism because somehow autism is worse than literal death to them. I sold life insurance. Oftentimes people would buy critical illness or accident, disability insurance for their kids instead of life insurance because they could not fathom the idea of their child dying, but having to care for a disabled child or a sick one scared them. I also was a certified child car seat installer, and when talking to people about putting their kids in the right car seat and keeping them there longer, we were taught to talk about severe disability and disfigurement rather than death because the parents would just tune out death. If you're talking to people about the MMR vaccine, then personal stories about people with lifelong disabilities might be more effective than death. Probably won't be effective at all, but I always try. I obviously think the anti-vaxxers are absolute lunatics, so this isn't about people who believe vaccines cause autism, but I don't think it's that much of a shock that people are scared of having a very disabled child in general. Having a seriously disabled child who needs round-the-clock care for their entire life would arguably impact your life in a larger way, and for longer, than a death would. Having to give up your career, social life, change your life entirely is something most people would be scared of. Getting rid of PBS. Being wrong, offered proof from a reliable source, then making up an excuse and continuing to willingly be wrong. A lot of these answers are describing stupidity and entitlement more than a lack of education. Being married to someone from a third world country, I've met many of her relatives who have never been to school. A good example is when one of them asked me, a Jewish person, if I still visit my family back in Israel. I'm not from Israel, have no family there, and have never even visited it. She just assumed anyone who is Jewish came from Israel. Another example is watching them watch children's shows with my kids. They actually watch the shows to learn, like basic shapes, colors, etc. They have very little understanding of the world. No idea how many continents there are. Don't understand simple finance like assets versus liabilities. It's very apparent that they aren't stupid, just never educated. Don't understand simple finance like assets versus liabilities. I work with people with college degrees who do not understand simple finance like assets versus liabilities.